That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
Good evening. You're watching and listening to GB News. I'm Sam Francis. The headlines at 11. The Conservatives are on track for their worst set of local election results in 40 years. The party's lost hundreds of seats across England, with Labour, the Liberal Democrats and Independents making gains. Reform UK also put in a strong showing in the Blackpool South by-election, coming in third place. Sir Keir Starmer claims Labour's results are a direct message to the Prime Minister as he renewed demands for Rishi Sunak to call a general election. Well, the Liberal Democrats have also made gains, with party leader Sir Ed Davey pledging to make the Conservative government history.
People from around our great country have had enough of this out-of-touch Conservative government. They've had enough of being taken for granted and being let down. It's time for change. And across this country, from Cheltenham to Dorset, from West Oxfordshire to here in Winchester, so many people, including lifelong Conservatives, are switching to the Liberal Democrats to make that change happen.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister insists he's focusing on the job at hand after those disappointing local election results for the Conservatives. Despite losing control of a number of authorities, the Conservatives did hold on to the mayoral seat in Tees Valley. Ben Houchen re-elected in that seat. Well, despite the evidence that people will stick with the Conservatives, Rishi Sunak says the general election will prove positive for his party.
Keir Starmer came here twice, Rachel Reeves came here 3 times, but even they couldn't dislodge Ben and the fantastic Conservative team, right? And they also threw a lot of mud, it needs to be said, in this election, because they were angry that Ben has delivered more for this region in 7 years than Labour Party managed in 30 years.
Well, let's take one final look tonight at the latest council results from across England. Counting has now finished, the final election result for tonight being declared. Tomorrow, those remaining results will follow, with 7 contests to be announced: London, the West Midlands, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Liverpool, South Yorkshire and in Salford. In other news, the family of murdered schoolboy Alfie Lewis have thanked him for making them smile every day. He was stabbed to death by another schoolboy outside a primary school in Leeds last November. The teenager, who can't be named, was 14 at the time of that attack. He claimed he was scared for his life when he pulled out the weapon, but that was disputed by prosecutors. A former solicitor has been sentenced today to more than 7.5 years in jail for running what the judge described as a deceptive immigration scheme. Flora Mendez from Luton made up fake addresses in Grenfell Tower and charged victims £2,800 to submit fraudulent immigration applications. The Indian national continued providing illegal services despite being struck off in 2015. The judge in the case called her actions truly disgraceful and sentenced her to 90 months behind bars. And finally, before we head over to headliners, a critical incident is ongoing in Bristol as a number of hospitals were hit by a power outage today. The local NHS trust says emergency departments in the city have now reopened to urgent walk-in patients, but they say some of its sites continue to be affected. People who may need urgent medical attention are being encouraged to call 111. For the latest stories, you can sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen, or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, taking you through tomorrow's top stories for the next hour, and I'm joined by weapons expert Leo Kearse and expert weapon Jonathan Cogan. Don't know if you can say that on telly. Who wrote that? How are you both doing? Oh, you've got your book there, Jonathan.
Sure, Jonathan.
How are you getting on with Gay's Shame?
Yeah, pretty good. Found it on Dolan's desk. How are you guys doing?
I don't mean the book, I mean the concept in your life.
Oh, yeah. I'm
a homophobic joke when you strip it back, but let's not look
getting by,
too closely. Leo, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
I've been to Sri Lanka.
Have you?
Yeah.
How was it?
Delightful, lovely country.
I can't tell you some weird jokes coming, but actually, no, it was just factually you had been to Sri Lanka.
Well, like Sri Lanka, no, I just met her. No, I went to Sri Lanka, it's wonderful.
Yeah, the joke wouldn't have worked. You were right not to do it. All right, well, after that totally non-awkward banter, let's crack on and do the front pages. So, the Daily Mail has Rishi plotters give up and go to the pub. Probably the best idea at this point. The Times, victory for Tory mayor helps Sunak to cling on. Bit of a tricky headline. On the Telegraph, Sunak, we have everything to fight for. That's about the local elections again. Daily Express, rebels kill plot to oust Rishi, for now. The Guardian, Tories crushed by worst election results in years. And the Daily Star, Smithy and Ness to wed, which is something to do with Gavin and Stacey. No idea. Anyway, those were the front pages. All right, so what have The Guardian gone with, Leo?
So The Guardian have gone with their reporting on the election results. It's interesting how the different papers reporting it. So the more right-leaning papers, like The Telegraph, is like, Sunak, we have everything to fight for, a positive spin. The Times, which is actually left-leaning now, says victory for Tory mayor helps Sunak to cling on. But The Guardian say Tories crushed by worst election results in years, which isn't like even a... They should have said decades. It's like 40 years.
40
They said years. All election results come in years. It's not like you have an election every 2 weeks.
They could have gone harder.
They could have gone harder, as a lot
If
of
I
people...
say I haven't seen you in years, I don't mean half a century. Yeah, good point. Go on.
So but the spread of Tory losses leads a former minister to say that there's no such thing as a safe seat anymore at the general elections.
Like on a Boeing plane.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get to that.
We'll all get...
Oh, no,
get to that later.
allegedly, it's a joke.
We love Boeing.
Yeah, we love it.
That joke will make sense later, you'll all laugh.
We love Boeing, but all the same, I'm reassured when it's an Airbus that pulls up to the little thing. Anyway, the Tories are expected to lose up to 500 seats when all the votes are counted. That sounds like a lot, but this is local elections, so there's way more seats. So Labour have advanced in the red wall that was won by the Tories under Boris Johnson when he promised he'd do something for people in the north. Tories were a bit thin on actually doing real things. And also Labour advancing in the traditional southern conservative heartlands as everybody turns into an absolutely despicable woke leftist. And also it's been a good night for the Green Party. They've won more than 150 seats, and independent candidates have won 260 seats, and Reform were only 117 votes behind the Tories in Blackpool South. So that could have been a huge upset. As it is, they got 17% of the votes. So that's still an incredible showing for Reform. I don't know if it'll translate into seats at the election.
Why do they say Reform? I say Reform or Reform UK. You say Reform.
Yeah, and I say Berkhamsted.
OK, interesting.
You say Rishi, though, when you say Rishi.
No, I've changed that now. I say Rishi now. I just thought it was Rishi for you. I'm told it's not. I'm told it's Rashid Sunak. So, Tories lost 500 seats, as you say, probably, and Labour got up 200 to 1,000 seats. But I was amazed. Lib Dems got 90. Who's voting Lib Dem in 2024?
Got to be a joke, right?
Greens went up to 150. That genuinely disturbs me. Obviously, I'm neutral here as an Ofcom regulator.
A lot of the Green votes are coming from disaffected Labour voters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. But you have to be very disaffected. I mean, the Greens, I look at the country and go, we need a right-wing party, and everyone else, I'm just obviously in a bubble, because everyone else looks and goes, you know what we need? Even more left-wing policies.
Oh, basically, we're going to follow Argentina's path down into, absolute totalitarian communism, and then there's going to need to be a saviour at some point to ride in, like a Javier Milei type to save us.
Yes, but first it's got to get really, really bad.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be awful.
David Stark about that, but he pointed out it took decades to get Milei, so it's just got to be decades of chaos and sort of third world misery.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very objective.
And there won't be nice weather like there is in Argentina. So.
Bad weather and a collapsing economy.
Good line.
Any different take, Jonathan, on that? For balance?
I just
think... you like the Greens?
The Greens, why not? Vote Green. No, don't.
Look at their jumpers. Look at their nice hand-knitted jumpers. They're nice people.
They're too crusty.
I don't know what their policies anymore are, except even like we're even more mad than Labour, which is also the Lib Dem policy. So Greens are even more mad than Lib Dem.
Destroy the economy.
Destroy paintings.
Yeah.
Smoke weed every day.
Right. I don't think that was them. I think that was Dr. Dre. Hard to keep up.
Green.
Let's do the Telegraph then, Jonathan.
Yes, so the headline in the Telegraph is Trump may tell NATO allies to spend 3% of GDP on defence. So Trump is considering ramping up his demand for military spending by NATO members from 2% to 3% of GDP. So this has been influenced by his meeting with President Duda of Poland, who called for a significant increase of spending because of the threat or the perceived threat from Russia. And this will have different effects on different countries. So in the UK, We've opted to spend more. We've gone up from 2% to 2.5%, but we're worried about going up to 3% because it's a lot of money. So my theory is to lower the GDP, and then you have to spend less on weapons.
They're already working on it.
Yeah, they're doing well. Vote Green.
But Trump's going quite aggressively at 3%. Apparently, that's a tremendous percentage. Many people are saying it's the best percentage they've ever heard. But that is, I mean, 2%, a lot of people can't meet, people meeting countries. Richie's talking about 2.5, wants to make us the largest defence power in Europe, brackets that can't stop a few dinghies getting in. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a bit weird being the best defence power and we can't even police our own border.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this? It is important to spend on NATO in this dangerous multipolar world.
Oh, absolutely. And this, you know, part of this is sort of tub thumping by Donald Trump. I don't think 3% is a realistic amount right now. But I can tell you, in about 5 years' time, it's going to seem like a realistic amount. You know, when China invades Taiwan, when Putin invades Romania or wherever he decides to go next, or the Baltics.
Is 3% sort of arbitrary, or is there like almost a critical level you get to when you start spending that much? Because it seems to me not that much different.
No, we need to make our defence spending smarter as well, because, you know, even though we're in NATO, or sort of military is aligned across NATO, we all have different tanks. I mean, there's certain NATO standards, but we waste a lot of money sort of developing our own individual tanks and planes and all the rest of it when we don't need to.
But where is the money going to come from, though? Number one, and you'll probably say DEI and net zero and things. But number two, is there a danger if NATO's too weak? Do you feel like Russia calls our bluff, or NATO's bluff, of China, and then we have to go too big to sort of, you know, we'd have to end up using a nuke that probably doesn't even work anymore? Yeah, I don't know. That's a potential scenario.
We could get a lot of this money by just stopping. We'd stop giving it to fat, lazy people who don't want to go to work. That's a great way.
You mean the civil service?
The civil service. There's also all the people on you know, sick benefits and stuff. You're not telling me that, like, you know, however many people it is, like 10 million people are authentically too sick to work in this country. Well, I'm too sick not to work.
The Tories may be struggling in the local elections, but Leo's going full Tory tonight. Let's do the Daily Mail then, Leo.
So the Daily Mail have Rishi plotters give up and go to the pub. This isn't a new J.K. Rowling book. It sounds a bit like it. But yeah, so there's a plot to oust Rishi Sunak and replace him with possibly Penny Mordaunt, possibly a wooden spoon with a face painted on it. I mean, any of them would be better options, possibly. But yeah, they've decided not to. We're a few months away from the general election. There's not much point, like, you know, swapping in. And also, who'd want to be Prime Minister for just, you know, a couple of months?
But you get the paycheck forever, though, if you've been...
Liz Truss?
Yeah, do you get the paycheck forever once you've been in? So let's say you get in, you sneak in just before, you know, the end game.
Well, Humza Yousaf's going to get that pension. He gets a payout of something like 50 grand a year forever or something, doesn't he?
Which is a lot in Scotland.
It's a lot in Scotland, yeah, it's huge. I mean, I saw this ex-post or tweet from Stephen Swinford. He said it looks like Rishi will survive because none of these three things happened. So they wanted... Tories finishing third behind Reform would have done it. Ben Hoochin, is that how do you say his name? To losing Tees Valley, and Andy Street losing West Midlands. But since they didn't happen, he's saying Rishi squeaks through. Yeah. Because, as you say, it's kind of pointless at this stage. And Penny Mordaunt can't be the answer to really anything except the question, who's good at carrying a big sword? Yeah,
and Rishi's starting to have some wins. I mean, the Rwanda plan is finally coming together. There was something else that he did well. I can't remember what it was.
Zero, maybe, or defence, or...
Yeah, all of those things. All of those things are, you know, generally pretty good.
OK. Well, a surprising vote for Rishi there. He's going to get one vote at least, maybe. All right, that is the front pages dealt with. But coming up, why Rwanda is totally safe and why Boeing probably isn't. See you soon.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
Organisations, plural, because there's loads of people doing this. The organisations are charging schools to be part of this odd league table about who's trying to outdo who when it comes to who is more trans inclusive with the kids than the next person. There's something makes me uneasy about this.
Supposing a child comes home and says, you know, you think, oh, I've done well today. He said, well, how have you done? He said, well, I was #1 painter, or I was #1 reader. No, I wasn't. I was made LGBT champion. You know, this is a 4- and 5-year-old. Look, I can understand this, actually, as we develop into the secondary school. I can understand more debates taking place. I cannot understand why we have to thrust it at young children. And I think if you ask the parents, they'd be hostile to it. And what about the role the teacher has to play in all this?
Society has been one way, the pendulum is swinging the other way, and they're pushing it very far in order to kind of proliferate change. And this is probably the toughest period in that evolutionary process, because the LGBTQ plus community is saying that you've got to really rage against the machine to get people to listen. Because put it like this now, even this conversation, the whole country is listening, the whole world is listening. These are the kinds of eyeballs and ears they haven't had before. And there's going to be friction. There's going to be a locking of heads in the process to getting to a point where you establish a new equilibrium where they feel more incorporated. Like I've said, the greatest force of allies that the LGBTQ plus community has always had is heterosexual women. What you're moving towards now is doing things that is beginning to turn them from allies into people who feel that, oh, for you to thrive, I'm being deprived, and that's a problem. When they realize you're alienating allies, they will understand you've got to recalibrate to have that kind of understanding between both parties.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Dubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Leo Kearse, catching up with his reading there, and Jonathan Cogan, who only had one book and he's given it away. All right, shall we crack on then, lads, and do the Telegraph? And is Keir Starmer losing his voter base by not hating Israel enough, Leo?
Well, yeah, pretty much. So the Muslim vote collapse is a major warning sign for Starmer, say the Telegraph. So Labour's position on Gaza is causing a collapse in the Muslim vote, shown most starkly in Oldham, where his party lost overall control of the council, but it's also evidenced elsewhere. Also, Harlow, a town that Keir Starmer visited twice, stayed loyal to the Tories, and Labour failed to win the Tees Valley mayoral election. But the issue with their sort of side issues, the issue with the Muslim vote, which is interesting because, you know, Tony Blair, when he opened the borders, apparently Labour said there was the intention to rub the right's nose in it and sort of force diversity on the country. And
Andrew Nethers actually said that, but carry on.
And tilt the sort of electoral arithmetic in the favour of Labour, who thought that, you know, these arrivals would vote for them. And for years, Muslims did vote Labour. But now they're not happy with you know, Keir's support for Israel. And in Oldham, where a quarter of the population is Muslim, the Labour vote was down by 8 percentage points. And in Blackburn, with Darwin, there was even bleaker news for Labour, where its vote share collapsed by 35%. So that's really incredible.
I mean, it's a tricky one for Starmer because, of course, he's got the anti-Semitism scandal, which generally people feel he's dealt with well, but then he suddenly runs into the not supportive enough of Palestine issue, so he basically can't win, Jonathan.
Well, what's slightly concerning to me is that on British soil, one of the main contention, like within voting, is a foreign war, a religious war. So, I mean, it's not just religious wars, political as well. Obviously, there's all kinds of issues. But if this is the main, you know, point of contention, shouldn't it be something based here? Wouldn't that
You'd think, wouldn't you? That's very old-fashioned of you, Jonathan. I think we should be dealing with domestic issues. No, we should deal with all foreign conflicts throughout the world and let them destroy our society, I think. I mean, the far left of the party is going to be running wild because the conventional wisdom is, OK, Starmer's winning a crushing majority. It's great times for Labour. But, of course, the small print is, but now his sort of far left, we've always seen Owen Jones defect. And the sort of far left are going to pressure him. And that's what they're doing already.
Yeah. And we're seeing some crazy attitudes coming through in the younger generation. So there's a survey, this is in America, so it's not in the UK, but there's a lot of replication across the two countries. 40% of Gen Z see Israel as a white supremacist country. And they've grown up, the younger generation have grown up under BLM, they've grown up with critical race theory, and they've grown up with being, openly being allowed to demonise white people. So now they're looking around, they're doing it to other groups. And obviously it's been acceptable to do it to white people, but it's not so acceptable to do it to an actual minority.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't know we could claim that one as well. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier that Jews aren't white.
Wasn't telling you that. But that's a great way to be cancelled.
No, I'm joking. It's a joke.
Josh will be writing a series of tweets. I mean, thanks, Jonathan. I did not say that for the record. Thank you very much.
I'm just...
although it is karma, because I have used the you were telling me before the show conceit on other people before. But just lastly on this, it is sort of, to me, it's always good when Labour are losing votes, just like when Sadiq Khan is losing votes. I say as the neutral host, but it's kind of good for the wrong reasons, because I hear that like the mosque have sort of put out the word, as I was reading this today, don't vote for Sadiq Khan. So I'm not totally sure I'm comfortable with that kind of pressure on the vote. You know,
what sort of world are we living in where Sadiq Khan isn't Muslim enough for you? You know what I mean? I mean, and this guy, it's not like he's sort of a lily-livered sort of just does it a little bit. Like, man, look into his background. Look into who lives, who he hands out council houses to, who he's represented, who he's been pals with.
Yeah.
It's,
be careful, don't go full Lee Anderson. You'll get suspended from something. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a fair point. But it's all about Gaza. It's all about he's not pro-Gaza enough, pro-Palestine enough.
Yeah.
So that's where they're losing. Tricky. I think it's an impossible situation because you've got to pick one, right? You can't. Could you sort of fudge it down the middle? Starmer's tried to do that. It hasn't worked.
Yeah, no, and
that's his whole thing, being straight down the middle.
I know, it's not worked on this. You've actually got to pick.
Yeah, and identity politics has made everything so divisive. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to corral Generation Z into, a pen that keeps them happy.
Yeah. It's like, I like Palestine, but I also like Israel. It's just not going to work, is it? All right, let's do The Guardian. For anyone who still has doubts about the Rwanda scheme, don't worry. There's now a nice leaflet, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah, this is sort of like a depressing Edinburgh Fringe analogue where you're kind of flyering for something that's going to be an inevitable failure. But yeah, it's OK. So detained asylum seekers given Home Office booklet saying Rwanda is generally safe. So asylum seekers under Rishi Sunak's deportation policy are being handed a colourful promotional document saying, that's not funny. I'm being relocated to Rwanda. What does it mean to me? I feel like just the
that
image
is quite funny. That's not just you.
Just the leaflet. Such a serious matter than getting a colourful leaflet as if it's like a, everybody poops book or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're being relocated. It's very
very Simpsons.
Yeah, it's like margin call when he gets kind of made redundant. Those big companies, they come and give you a leaflet with like a nice ship on the front. Your next chapter.
So you're mentally disabled.
Yeah. So you found yourself in Rwanda. What does it mean? Well, it means you're in trouble probably, but go on. But it is a very safe country. Or to quote this, generally safe.
Yeah.
Not the most convincing word.
Sounds safer than Britain then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
generally
fine.
Safe.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, generally all right. It kind of works, I suppose.
Has a dark side.
But I suppose a leaflet is better than no leaflet, you might say.
I'm disgusted my taxes are being spent on leaflets.
Yeah, the leaflet costs £75 million, apparently.
Yes, they're really selling it. You'll be flown to the land of 1,000 hills with a wide array of wildlife. It's like a safari.
Yeah, this sounds amazing. And you get £3,000 if you go voluntarily. So, and that's, that goes a long way in Rwanda. I think this is a mistake in the leaflet. They say, if you feel that Rwanda is not safe for you personally, you must notify us immediately in writing. So this is basically explaining the loophole that if you can show, or if you can just claim that Rwanda will be personally dangerous for you, then they won't send you.
Yeah, that's where you say, I'm gay or something when you're not. Yeah, or I don't like wildlife in this case. I don't want to be generally safe. I want to be totally safe. I don't know, but he's desperate to get the policy through, isn't he, Rishi? So he's throwing all his leaflets at it.
The good news is that I'm getting paid £14 an hour to hand out these leaflets.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. In Rwanda or here?
Here, but I do have the option to go to Rwanda.
That might be a trap. If anyone offers you a trip to Rwanda, Jonathan, you've got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
Because I hear that, it can be one way. All right, well, I feel like we've dealt with that Rwanda leaflet. It's a little bit of a lightweight story, no pun intended. It was a bit intended. Let's do The Independent. And David Cameron says Ukraine has the right to strike inside Russia. This probably makes him your new best mate, Leo.
Yeah, so David Cameron has said that Ukraine has the right to strike inside Russia with the British weapons that Britain is giving it. So this is a good thing that Rishi's done, unless you're one of these foaming-mouthed right-wingers who, for some reason, suddenly have decided that Ukraine is their enemy. I don't understand why people on the right are doing that. It's like, even Trump in 2014, was, or not 2014, but Trump was one of the, first people to step up and really arm Ukraine. You think, he's just changed his mind for political reasons. Anyway, I'll get to this. Rishi Sunak has pledged to give Ukraine at least £3 billion in military support. And if you think, our money shouldn't be sent to Ukraine, don't worry. It's mostly decommissioned kit that we're basically, we've got it in storage and we're getting rid of it so we can upgrade our stuff, upgrade our jets to, F-35s or whatever it is. So
it's like giving them our second-hand clothes.
Exactly.
We're off to Next.
Like vintage, but for...
So we don't need to pay for our old kit to be stored anymore. This is probably saving us money. That's how smart Rishi Sunak is. But this is, to Putin, this is another escalation. This is another red line. The British weapons being fired, possibly with British troops on the ground assisting with the use of the weapons being fired into Russia to kill Russian soldiers. So he's going to be, this is another unacceptable red line. But he said that about 1 million times, so it means nothing anymore.
But isn't it, Leo? I know you hate this. Isn't it just prolonging an unwinnable war for Ukraine?
For Putin. Putin's prolonging an unwinnable war for Russia. Man, we could end this war. The West could end this war like next week. When Trump gets in, he'll probably end this war straight away.
But won't he end it the Viktor Orban way that Orban's promised by just stopping funding for Ukraine? Isn't that what you mean?
No. If you stop funding for Ukraine, then Putin will suddenly be in charge of not just the Russian military, he'll be in charge of the Ukrainian military as well. So you'll have the two best, most battle-hardened armies in Europe right in your doorstep. They're not going to stop.
OK, so because a source said, and we didn't get onto it with the Trump NATO story, but a source said that Trump has a plan to end both wars, Ukraine, Russia and Israel. But he won't reveal it. Yeah, but what is his plan then to end the Ukraine? I mean, I don't know how you would have it.
I think he'll just be massively aggressive.
That's always his plan. That works as a deterrent, but once you're in the war, it doesn't work as well, does it? Because then you've got to back it up.
Yeah, no, I think Trump will have no problem backing it up.
But are you not worried about Putin using these tactical nukes, these sort of mini nukes, but they're still nukes, if it really comes down to it? Because won't he do anything to save face and win this war?
Yeah, I mean, the only way he can really save face, they'll make a golden bridge for him to retreat across. So they'll probably give him Donbass or maybe say, Crimea. But really, I mean, Putin's vulnerable from within. If he loses the war and if he, and if the Russian economy has been doing incredibly well, but a lot of that is just, funded by...
Right?
It's a war economy, so it's funded by state funding.
I think I heard you say that on a different episode.
I was going to say, Jonathan, sorry I let Leo speak so much, not you, but he is kind of like, this is his pet topic. Like if he was on Mastermind, it would be this. But anything to add?
I can do The Simpsons.
You're just going to stick with Simpsons?
Yeah.
Because you look like one of them.
Doll.
All right, fair enough. Well, just one more before the break, then let's do the Telegraph. And a second Boeing whistleblower has died just 2 months after his colleague was found dead with gunshot wounds in a car park. And I just want to say again, I love Boeing and don't even own a whistle. That's my stance.
Second Boeing whistleblower dies suddenly in Oklahoma. This is Joshua Dean, a former quality auditor at one of their suppliers, Spirit Aerosystems, who warned of manufacturing defects in the Boeing 737 MAX. So he died on Tuesday after developing pneumonia following a fast-moving infection of influenza and MRSA. I mean, did he also have some real estate deals with the Clintons? This is, quite unusual for a 45-year-old. And this comes just after, in March, a month ago, this other guy, Mr. Barnett, was found dead in a vehicle. He was another whistleblower, found dead in a vehicle in a hotel car park, having suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had been due to testify in a lawsuit against his former employer.
So I think that's all completely above board.
Nothing to see there.
Great guys.
Can you weaponize pneumonia?
Well, ask Putin. I mean,
ask China.
He died suddenly, and for once it wasn't the vaccine. That's all I'm saying. Is that allowed? Satirical content, guys. The vaccine's very safe. Boeing are very safe. Everything's safe.
They're not. They've had lots of accidents, and they've had lots of issues. They've been focusing on DEI and making sure they tick all the boxes instead of focusing on making the planes as absolutely safe as possible and not worrying about if people feel empowered and stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you reported a $355 million net loss. So they might be thinking, ooh, don't want any more losses.
Yeah.
Better clean up our loose ends, but not by doing anything untoward, of course. That is it for part 2 before we get in any trouble. But coming up, Iranian women spy on people for wearing trousers. Women's cricket turns to AI, and puppy yoga is banned. So put that dog down.
Nice.
We'll see you in a minute. I know.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mixed May Day bank holiday weekend. Some places having warm sunshine, but there will be a fair few showers around as well. Had a real mixed picture today. Cracking day in western Scotland, dull and damp over these central areas. The rain here slowly edging northwards. Clearer skies in the south. Going to allow it to turn quite chilly, actually. May not be far off freezing in some rural parts of the south, whereas the cloud and the rain over northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland will keep the temperatures up in double digits here. It does make for a pretty dismal start to the long weekend. A lot of cloud and rain and drizzle on and off through the day. Northeast England may well brighten up. A much brighter day tomorrow for the Midlands, East Anglia and many southern counties of England and Wales. Fine tomorrow with some sunny spells. And again, the west coast of Scotland doing OK for sunshine. Not quite as warm as today, but 17, 18 likely here. Cool on some of these North Sea coasts, particularly in the far northeast where it stays fairly murky. That's going to be an issue, I think, on Sunday as well. Mist and low cloud around the coast in the northeast. Could be some heavy showers developing through the day over central and eastern Scotland. But again, many areas fine on Sunday, some spells of sunshine, increasing chance of seeing cloud and showers coming up from the south. But with a bit of sunshine, temperatures getting into the high teens once more. That'll feel pretty pleasant. So a brighter day on Sunday, certainly across northern England. We'll keep that mixture of some places staying fine and sunny on Monday, but there will still be some showers around.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Oh, sorry. Hello. Welcome back to Headliners. Let's do the Telegraph. And Iranian women are grassing up other women for wearing fitted trousers. Are there no roles left for patriarchal oppressors to actually be men, Jonathan? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're taking all of our jobs. It doesn't work.
Oh, that kind of works.
That kind of works, OK.
It's close to a joke.
The headline is, Iranian women are betraying others to morality police for wearing fitted trousers. So a hardline Iranian militia is hiring women to enforce the country's strict hijab rules, using them to spy on other women and bundle offenders into vans to be taken for interrogation. Now, this is horrible. This is just despicable theocratic tyranny where women are, helping to stomp on the rights of other women. They're despicable snitches, in my opinion. This is not good. This is not good. This is, this is really just an affront to women's rights.
Okay.
And I disagree with it.
Well, just for balance.
Yeah.
I've got to give balance. It's my job. I mean, one of the women here is saying, look, we should intimidate them so they stop going out as if it's Paris or London. And you look at Paris and London these days, Leo, cultural decline. You're like, hey, maybe they've got a point.
No, I mean, I think if you look at Paris and London, would you be able to tell the difference between that and Tehran?
That's another point. But, one I was making, and I deplore it and disavow it.
But yeah, basically, women love judging each other.
I've written that.
They do. Yeah. They do. And all patriarchal religions have been maintained and upheld by women.
To be fair,
it's not women. It's not men deciding to go to church on a Sunday. It's women, because the whole system is set up to benefit
women are more traditionally concerned about social standards.
Yeah.
The only people who shouted at me to put on a face mask during COVID were the ladies.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you doing, though?
I was leering. Yeah, they don't like my face. They said I look like Miliband.
I mean, it is disturbing because, of course, Iran didn't used to have this. We all see those pictures from the 70s or whatever it is when they're just like, it looks like a Western country.
Yeah.
So it is quite disturbing, especially to have other people snitching and enforcing. That's what I don't like. I
hate the snitching.
Yeah, I hate snitching and enforcing. You see a woman, who would do that? You see a woman wearing trousers, like, tell you what, I'm going to the morality police.
Yeah.
You want a loser.
Oh, I just can't wait till we've got it here. It's going to be so funny. Because, you know, like, it's going to happen. Demographics is destiny. And, you know, what happened in Hamtramck in Michigan, as soon as they had this sort of critical mass to have, you know, a majority Muslim council, the first thing they did was ban the pride flag. And I don't know if they're going to introduce morality police or anything. Yeah, it'd probably be unconstitutional in America. But I think it'd be so funny to see all these, like, women and lefties just being like, oh, but this isn't, I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice when I said, you know, we should have the extreme far left policies and be incredibly tolerant of other cultures and stuff. And now these other cultures aren't being tolerant of me.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what women
reminds
sound
me of
like.
Michelle Houellebecq's novel Submission, where, you know, it's like pie takes over, and very quickly it's trousers in the mall, and actually. People would just probably go along with it. You'd be amazed. People would just suddenly go along with it quite quickly. We saw during COVID how people would just go along with anything.
And we saw it in this country about, you know, 200 years ago. So, you know, we know that, you know, we can do it.
All right. Well, that wasn't controversial. Let's do The Guardian. And the England women's cricket team are using AI to help with team selection. But is there a danger it'll just select all men, Leo?
So the England women's head coach, John Lewis, I get it, has revealed how he's using AI, artificial intelligence, as a selection tool and credits the technology with helping his side draw last summer's Ashes series. This is like Moneyball, you know, sports teams.
I wrote Moneyball.
You wrote Moneyball? Yeah, we've got to
come to you first for some of these. Leo's using up all your gold.
So, you know, using stats and stuff to find, you know, where you can get the hidden, cheaper advantage over bigger teams. So they're able to run simulated teams using this AI versus simulated opposition, so they can tell how many times a female football player will fall over or cry or try to kick the ball and miss. So it's incredible what they can do with computers.
But this is cricket, isn't it? So if you're trying to kick the ball, they really are messing up.
I thought it was football.
Same thing. I mean,
it's all cricket.
It's not the same thing, but the same principle, which is AI, Jonathan. And you could have AI managers. That will save in football. That would save loads of money. Cricket managers.
You could have AI spectators, and then we don't have to bother watching incredibly boring sports.
Good point. I don't even have time to watch anymore. Too busy.
Well, I'm a big fan of women's cricket. I was hoping that the AI here was going to be like a Boston Dynamics batting arm. That's what I was hoping to see. Just a really powerful,
That's more robots than AI, isn't it? But the two together could be a very powerful combination.
True.
OK, I feel like we've...
Like you and me.
Got everything out. I think even an AI would struggle to get more out of that story. So let's do The Telegraph. And Italy has banned puppy yoga. It's like Mussolini all over again, Jonathan.
The pasta. Italy bans stressful puppy yoga. So Italy has banned puppy yoga, ruling that the fitness fad is too stressful for the animals. So this is sad. This is something I wanted to try. I don't want the little dogs to be suffering. You've got to be nice to the little critters. But how nice does that sound, to just be doing a little bit of yoga and having, like, little puppies crawling all over you?
Not great to me, but I don't like yoga. But, I mean, I do like puppies. I was going to say I don't like puppies, but what kind of monster doesn't like puppies?
What if it does, like, pees on the floor?
No, they don't pee because they don't feed the dogs any food or water.
Well, at least they're doing
that. Torture.
It is. That's why the RSPCA are shutting it down.
Yes, it's a commercial thing, Leo, that's bad for the dogs.
Yeah, I don't even understand what it is. Like, yoga's quite a niche interest thing anyway, but then, like, doing it with, like, puppies?
Yeah.
They
do it with goats. They have different ones. They do. There's goat yoga.
Like, there's maybe one place that does that. Nobody, like, I've never seen a goat in a yoga studio in my life. I've never, like, I did yoga once. It was boring. But I don't know why people can't, instead of harassing these puppies and stuff, if you get gerbils, they're very placid, very kind-natured animals. They don't need all the care and attention. They're desert animals, so they don't pee a lot anyway, so you get around the issue with puppies peeing on the floor.
Gerbil yoga.
Gerbil yoga.
I think that's such a sort of autistic simplistic male brain like version of it. I think we're just the wrong audience for this. I think we're not getting it. Nothing against the autistic community, but Leo's just staring at me blankly now, thinking about gerbils. All right, anything else, Jonathan, on gerbils or puppies?
I mean, we could bring in other animals. Cow yoga, just have a big cow walking around.
You need a flexible animal because it's yoga. Use a snake.
Right, good idea. Snake yoga.
There is cobra. Cobra is a move.
All right.
OK, cool. Smash that one. Let's do the times. And no one wants electric cars. Now, is that because they're not as good as proper cars, Leo?
Yeah, probably. So electric vehicles have been heavily discounted to shift unsold stock. Some motorists have been reluctant to buy electric cars because of fears about charging infrastructure. And also, the range on them isn't... I mean, if you're doing a gig out somewhere 200 miles away, you're going to need to stay overnight so you can charge your electric car. Whereas with a petrol or diesel, you just fill it up straight away. So the stalling sales of new electric cars have prompted a price war, with some brands offering discounts of more than 20%, but they are expensive. So that's just bringing them down into the sort of the price bracket of regular cars. And I feel like the first wave of buyers was incredibly enthusiastic, and they were like, "Oh, these are cool, these are new." My mate bought a Tesla. He thought it was so cool. It went so fast. It was great. But now you've got the regular people who are just buying cars because they actually need a car, and electric cars aren't always, the best for that.
So they're fun as a gadget and as a
they're a luxury car for someone who already has a different car.
Yeah.
They don't even need this one, really.
And also they put pronouns on you. Like, as soon as you get in it and drive it, they put pronouns on you, and they don't make a good noise like an electric car does. My car goes like this, rah, rah. Whereas an electric car goes like this. Rubbish noise.
I guess the point of
pronouns on you. What does that mean?
No, they put pronouns on you, so then you got a badge. You're not a badge, but you know what I mean. It's like the same sort of thing.
Hello, Leo.
Then you log in.
Him.
You log into your social media accounts. All of a sudden, it's they, them, and stuff. You get pronouns. There's a definite.
Trying to turn the flipping people trans, Jonathan. What's going on?
Well, I think part of the reason we're seeing a decline in electric car sales is because the reason why you buy an expensive car is to get clunge, and you don't get any with an electric car.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also now everybody's got one.
It's fine.
You've checked that word,
I checked that word.
I'll tell you
what. Not apologise.
I'll tell you what's going to save electric cars. Also, they've been hammered by higher electricity prices as well, so it's not even cheaper to run them.
You get a petrol motor to generate the electricity of your car.
To follow you around. It's ridiculous. What's going to save them is robo-taxis. As soon as, Elon Musk, they've already got the self-driving technology. As soon as it gets approval and we have self-driving robo-taxis, they're going to be cheaper because there isn't a person making a wage off it, and they're going to be great because you just get in them and you go...
Robo-taxis. For a second I thought you said robo-taxis. I was like, oh, that's how they'll get us. But robo-taxis is everywhere.
30% of jobs or something like that. I made that number up, but a high percentage of jobs are all driving
They struggle with self-driving cars. It's not simple because they struggle with objects. You think, oh, it's so easy, but actually they struggle with objects because, as Jordan Peterson will tell you for about 3 hours, it's not that clear what an object is. An object partly gains its meaning by our relation to it. We see it as a tool.
Do the voice.
I'm not going to do the voice, but we see it, so a car, an AI can't necessarily discern the meaning of an object.
That's true, but now they can. They couldn't for a long time. That was a hard problem. Yeah, you have multimodal, but that was very true for many years.
Okay.
So.
I love this phrase, softening consumer demand. Like, if ever you're not getting any gigs, just say, no, softening consumer demand. All right, let's quickly do the Independent. And Martin Freeman has turned his back on vegetarianism, presumably having actually tasted actual vegetarian food, Jonathan.
Oh, that's mean.
Spice.
Vegetarian food's OK. It's not vegan. Vegetarian's all right. It's like eggs.
I'm against all meat in it. Eggs is like a kind of meat.
Yeah, it was vegetarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's like a sort of halfway between a meat and a vegetable.
I've never eaten a vegetable. Anyway, John, we've got to go to the
right, the headline is, Martin Freeman turned his back on vegetarianism after 38 years. So he basically blames processed foods for the reason why he made the switch. He said he likes meat, replacement things, but his reservation about them is that they can be very processed, and he's trying to eat less processed food. Why didn't he just stop eating the fake meat then and just eat the normal vegetarian food if he's got such a problem with it?
Someone here has said, it's the chief executive of the Vegetarian Society, so let's bear that in mind, says it feels like he's just giving in to his meaty cravings.
Yeah, and also the same person said, where he talks about tucking into a Scotch egg and a pork pie, he should know that they're just as ultra-processed. This is nonsense. Scotch eggs are laid by Scottish people. That's where we hatch from, and we have to sit in them and incubate them.
And pork pies are the purest, best food you can eat.
I'd say so. And I'd also say, Freeman is quoted saying that switching to eating meat has led to the desolation of Smog, which is what he calls his toilet.
Nice. Good. I was worried about where that was going, but it was all right. Let's move on. That is it for part 3. But coming up in the final section, China goes to the dark side of the moon. Liam Gallagher threatens to do a gig at Lidl. And the Bible is all true. Unmissable stuff. See you in a minute.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Offline and overlooked. That's what Age UK say millions of British pensioners are. Why? Because they cannot or won't access the internet. It's leading to digital exclusion. So the charity's campaigning for public services like banks, utilities and even the NHS to maintain a more human approach.
Everything's online. People assume you've got a smartphone with a mobile number and an email, and without that you don't exist in this world anymore. We've got to try and get the government to see that it's so important to make people feel that they belong, because there's a feeling that the older generation just feel that they're forgotten, they're in the way, and we already know that anyway, but it's just another reason for them to feel that they're not wanted. They'll just accept it and they'll say, well, that's it, I can't do it anymore. And that's it, whereas other people would be really kicking and screaming. So we need to be the voice for older people.
Despite digital technology playing an increasing role in our lives, around 1 in 5 over 65s in the UK don't use the internet. Thornycroft Centre in Pontefract, West Yorkshire, provides a space for this age group to socialise and get help to go online.
I'm not that good with mobiles, so when you mention anything about online, I ain't a clue what you're talking about.
The closure of thousands of banks is also detrimental to the older generation.
A lot of our members what come, they tend to use cash. They don't like to use bank cards. I think a lot of it's trust or the lack of knowledge. They don't understand how it works. I think they're very vulnerable as well with online. It's really important that they're aware how to use it and how to use it safely.
So, in an online era, it's still crucial for many to have an offline option.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me. My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country. That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final section of Headliners. Just put out a blanket apology for booking Jonathan Cogan and everything he said. But let's get into it with The Sun. And China has sent a spaceship to the dark side of the moon. Reminds me of that Pink Floyd album, Wish You Were Here, Leo.
Nice.
See what it is.
That was a momentary lapse of reason.
Jokes there.
So this is inside the new space race, where China and the US are battling to take over the skies as Beijing prepares Star Wars army and nukes. So China's launched an uncrewed lunar mission. We sent people. We sent real. Well, I say we. It was America. But I can.
You mean that thing where they pretended to go to the moon and did that fake film?
Yeah. We faked it. We're real people. They're faking it. We're robots. So they're going to bring back samples from the moon's dark side for the first time in history. We've only been to the light side before, apparently. And the moon, of course, is locked in a geostationary orbit where it doesn't spin because it's small enough for it to have like different, be slightly unbalanced and have a different weight on one side.
Said that.
So it's the gravity of the Earth's gravity pulls it into and locks it into position. That's why it's always facing
college boy.
There's so many areas that Leo's nerdish on. You don't really, I thought it was just weapons, but he's been reading about the moon. I mean, they're colonising the moon. They've given up, bored of just Africa and South America. They're like, we'll colonise the moon. But then America's sort of banking on Mars, and China's going for the moon. What do you think, Jonathan?
I think, can't we just leave our squabbles at home and enjoy space for all of mankind and just... Can't we all get along?
What does that mean?
I don't know. put me on the spot.
Have you read this?
Yeah.
You're rightfully
But what I
quite
thought, well,
quickly.
no, so the guy said, I can't remember who, he said, obviously you don't want to interfere with each other, but don't declare that this whole territory is suddenly yours. And that's what he's saying when China go to the moon and say it's theirs. We can share it. It's for everybody. Space is for everybody.
This is the new Cold War. Who gets the dark water on the moon or something?
Yeah, yeah, and they'll be looking to place. Russia's already looked to place nukes
to take down
space.
satellites.
Yeah, and they're looking at technology that'll be able to shoot down, because so much of modern warfare is dependent on GPS satellites and communication satellites. So if you can take out the GPS and return us to some sort of Stone Age, none of us can use our sat navs anymore.
Man with a carrier pigeon is king. Yeah.
Right, that's the Graham Hancock Atlantis scenario.
Yes.
Only a few people in the Amazon rainforest survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't Marjorie Taylor Greene say Israel had killer satellites in space or something?
She says a bunch of stuff.
She says a lot of things, and they're all true. Let's do the Daily Star. And Liam Gallagher says he'll perform a gig at Lidl Supermarket. When we fall hard, Jonathan.
Nice.
I mean, what a decline.
Liam Gallagher set to perform a gig at Lidl Supermarket amid Co-op Live venue drama. So after several gigs were cancelled at Manchester's new Co-op Live arena, Liam Gallagher has told fans he'll perform in Lidl if his gig suffers the same fate as all those other shows. So they cancelled a bunch of shows, including Peter Kay and some other stuff. And, yeah, he's basically made a joke that he'll play a Lidl if this happens in a slight to Co-op. And pretty exciting
And
stuff.
Lidl have made some hilarious puns out of it. Champagne super offer, that's not very good. Tiger roll with it, that's really bad. Some might save, that's not bad.
Little by Little. Little by Little is pretty good.
OK, is that one of their songs?
Yeah, Little by Little. I went to
It's not one of the best songs. Don't Look Back in Hanger. That's good.
Oh, because you're hangry.
Hangry, yeah.
Okay, that's not bad, that's not bad.
Where did it all go wrong?
Let's just keep reading these slowly.
Oh,
that'd be good TV.
Because it's sponsored by Co-op.
Right.
So that's why he's referencing Lidl.
Yes. That's it, Leo. You've got a story. Brilliant. You've grasped the basics.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yep.
OK, well, let's do the Metro. And scientists have created a mouse with a part rat brain. Do some of these people have too much time on their hands, Leo?
No, this is actually really useful science. It's way better than doing, working out what new pronouns you can have or how to develop a new pride flag or something. So scientists have created a Frankenstein mouse with a part rat brain. So it's not as bad as it sounds. They're sort of saying it's Frankenstein. Frankenstein, is quite a sort of horrific tale. This is good. They put rat brain cells into mouse brains. This is at the Columbia University and the University of Texas Southwestern. So it's interesting they could do this while protesters were screaming at them. And it's sort of showing how these new brain cells can fill in gaps in the mouse brain, and the mouse brain makes the brain cells act differently, so it can expand the flexibility of a brain and possibly provide treatments for diseases such as Parkinson's or Alzheimer's.
Or being a mouse. What do you think, Jonathan?
I think it's super interesting. So part of what happened with the mice is that their sense of smells developed because they took elements from the rat's brain that would increase basically that ability within the mice. And this is all very interesting in sci-fi. What animal elements could we put into our own brains to give us powers? I think I'd like a bat sonar, perhaps.
OK, well, let's quickly do this one. So, it's gone out of my thing. It was about red squirrels that I wanted to do, but apparently that's gone. Let's do the Bible instead then, the Mail, and it turns out the Bible is true. I mean, I tried to tell you all, Leo.
Yes, the ruins that could prove the Bible was true. Stretch of wall in ancient Jerusalem vindicates the Holy Book's account, archaeologists claim. The whole of the Bible is now true because of a wall. So it proves that you do go to hell if you covet an ox. The stretch of wall at the eastern slopes of the city of David was long assumed to be built by Hezekiah, king of Judah, but an almost decade-long study has revealed that it was actually built by his great-grandfather, Uzziah, after a huge earthquake, echoing the account of the Bible. So that's the bit it proves.
So they're off by like 40 years, or 50 years or so.
Is that bad in biblical timescales?
Well, I don't know, it's blink of an eye, really. They're pretty close. It is the Old Testament, though, Nick, so soz.
You're sort of saying you have a monopoly on that?
On the Old Testament, we can share it.
He calls it the proper one.
OK, well, we've got 30 seconds. I banked on doing that red squirrel story.
Do the red squirrel joke there.
Let's do it.
We can't do the red squirrel. No. The red squirrel. The only thing is, it's about red squirrels have emerged as a likely source of leprosy. And my joke was going to be, but then again, that did come from Grey Squirrel Weekly. See how that would have been a good.
I love that. I love that.
Took it out at the last minute.
Yeah.
All right.
Afuera.
10 seconds left. Anything you want to add from tonight's show? That was good.
Oh, yeah, the Mayor of London has just been announced. It is Count Binface.
OK, Count
well
Binface
done, everybody.
has won. Absolutely smashed. All right, thanks, guys. Good show. Let's have another quick look at the front pages. I'm furious inside. So the Mail has Rishi plotters give up and go to the pub. The Times has victory for Tory Mayor helps Sunak to cling on. The Telegraph, Sunak, we have everything to fight for. Very positive spin on the local elections. The Daily Express, rebels kill plot to oust Rishi, for now. The Guardian, Tories crushed by worst election result in years. The Daily Star, Smithy and Ness to wed, which is something to do with Gavin and Stacey that none of us understood. And those were the front pages. That is it for tonight's show. Thanks to Jonathan and Leo. Headlines is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. If you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. But for now, it's good night or good morning and God bless.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A mixed May Day bank holiday weekend. Some places having warm sunshine, but there will be a fair few showers around as well. Had a real mixed picture today. Cracking day in western Scotland, dull and damp over these central areas. The rain here slowly edging northwards. Clearer skies in the south. Going to allow it to turn quite chilly, actually. May not be far off freezing in some rural parts of the south, whereas the cloud and the rain over northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland will keep the temperatures up in double digits here. It does make for a pretty dismal start to the long weekend. A lot of cloud and rain and drizzle on and off through the day. Northeast England may well brighten up. A much brighter day tomorrow for the Midlands, East Anglia and many southern counties of England and Wales. Fine tomorrow with some sunny spells. And again, the west coast of Scotland doing OK for sunshine. Not quite as warm as today, but 17, 18 likely here. Cool on some of these North Sea coasts, particularly in the far northeast where it stays fairly murky. That's going to be an issue, I think, on Sunday as well. Mist and low cloud around the coast in the northeast. Could be some heavy showers developing through the day over central and eastern Scotland. But again, many areas fine on Sunday, some spells of sunshine, increasing chance of seeing cloud and showers coming up from the south. But with a bit of sunshine, temperatures getting into the high teens once more. That'll feel pretty pleasant. So a brighter day on Sunday, certainly across northern England. We'll keep that mixture of some places staying fine and sunny on Monday, but there will still be some showers around.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We've blown the budget by giving you the chance to win a totally terrific £20,000 in tax-free cash to make your summer spectacular. You could use that cash to splash out on a holiday, make the garden glam, buy a new car, or just save it for a rainy day. Whatever you'd spend £20,000 on, make sure you don't miss the chance to make it yours. For a chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text WIN to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall? Let's find out together. For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 7 o'clock. Time to take stock of where we are with the sensational results and indeed rumours of what's yet to come. We'll be talking through it all: the local elections 2024, the Labour gains with Shadow Minister Steve McCabe, the Conservative losses with Tory Minister Steve Baker, and perhaps some of those Tory Klingons. But also in the next hour, you'll hear from reaction from Nigel Farage. Might Reform have underperformed tonight? But also George Galloway will be here to talk through his candidates, particularly in Rochdale. All that to come and more with expert psephologists and those that know perhaps what might